Hello everybody, and welcome to UC Tech Chat, where we discuss business technology, unified communications, and more. I am your host, Brian Ferguson.
And I'm your co-host, Jason Mefford. Thank you for joining us.
All right, so today we're going to be discussing conference call etiquette. And there are a number of conference call etiquette rules that you can follow that can make your conferences much more productive and engaging for your employees. We'll take a look at some of those etiquette rules, and then we'll check in with Julie Webb to discuss conference call pet peeves. And she answers a question from Julie's inbox.
And speaking of etiquette in the workplace, at the end of the show, we'll take a look at where the term originated and also talk about some common types of etiquette.
Great. So, Jason, it's always easier to start with the bad. So tell us what some of your conference call pet peeves are.
So I'll start with three of my pet peeves. One is when people are clearly not paying attention when a question is asked. Never fails, you're on a conference call, you ask someone that's remote a question, you hear silence, and then they come back with what was that? Very frustrating. Another is when people don't come with a clearly defined agenda. It's critical to be able to cover the topics that are needed for that conference call, and without an agenda, that's impossible. People are on their mobile phones. That is another one. So when people are on their mobile phones during a conference while they're in the conference room, they can't be on their phone and paying attention at the same time. What about you, Brian?
All right, so I got three also. First one is when somebody puts the call on hold. So instead of hitting the mute button if something's going on, they put the call on hold. Maybe they got a call and I can understand that, but when you put the call on hold, everybody on the call gets to hear your lovely hold music. So don't do that. Put the call on mute or just ignore the phone call. The next one is putting your phone on mute during a conference call. If you don't need to be talking at that given time, it's really, really great to put your call on mute. We understand that you might be doing other things during the conference call. You might be going through a drive-through. You might be sitting at home with kids in the background or dogs, and that's great. Put your call on mute because we don't want to hear them. We're trying to get business done. And then the last one is being invited unnecessarily. I can't tell you how many times I've been invited to conference calls when I really just didn't need to be there, most of the ones that he calls. Make sure that the list of people that you invite to the conference call really just need to be there. For the ones that don't and just need the information, send them an email recap. It's much more impactful. So Jason, what are some definite do's to talk about when we're talking about conference calls?
So when on a conference call, it's important to watch the clock and make good use of everyone's time. Everybody's super busy these days, so when they're in a conference call, you want to be mindful of their time and not run over. Clearly define to-dos as well with deadlines and who owns them. When you don't assign to-dos, don't have a time frame, and don't have an individual that owns it, if nobody's driving the bus, it won't get done.
Great. So on the same note, make sure you stay on topic. Make sure that there are no side conversations happening. Just make sure that whatever topic that you came into to handle that day is the one that you handle. Another do is to introduce all participants that are on the call. Make sure that everybody knows who's there, who's not, so that nobody's asking a question to somebody who's just not there.
If referring to a presentation during the call, number the slides and clarify as you move from one to the next so people can follow along. Ideally, using a screen sharing application to make sure everyone is on the same page is ideal. The more visual aids that you have, the more engaged your audience will be.
Pay attention. So this seems to be a given, but just make sure that when you're on a conference call, pay attention. You don't want to be in that awkward position where somebody asks you a question, you hear your name at the last minute, and you're like, oh man, I don't know what the answer is. I don't even know what they asked, and you have to do that just like he described. What was that question again? Don't be that guy. Eliminate all the distractions, get rid of the email, get rid of your laptop or mobile phone completely, pay attention to the meeting, take written notes if it's better to do it that way. Just make sure that you're paying attention, and then just make sure that your mobile device is put away.
You can't be your own pet peeve, man. A UC solution can provide more advanced options. An example would be you can set up a call rule with a status called in a meeting, and when you change from your mobile phone that status to in a meeting, you can have calls go directly to voicemail, therefore avoiding these type of awkward situations.
Or better yet, let's just turn the phone off.
Great idea.
Oh yeah, there's one more. If you need to leave the call for any reason, make sure you announce that you're leaving to everybody. Let everybody know that you're gone so that the conference call doesn't get to you where you need to answer a question and people start asking that question, Jason, are you there? And you're not there, and that's just really annoying and really disruptive to the call. And you want to make sure that everybody knows who they can talk about and who they can't as well.
You're the only one who does that.
No, I don't think so. So those are some definite conference call do's that we talked about. So now let's take a closer look at conference calls from our favorite answer woman, Julie Webb. Julie, what are some of your conference call pet peeves?
Thanks, guys. You've covered quite a few of my pet peeves, but I'd have to add that if you're in a conference room with other people, please be aware of the folks on the actual conference call. Side chatter and multiple conversations are extremely distracting, not only to the people in the room, but the people on the other end of the phone. On the topic of conference calls, we had a viewer recently ask us about shopping for the right phone system to accommodate his needs. Noah from Newark, New Jersey asks, my company is looking at a new phone system, but we have a lot of heavy conferencing for our all-hands meetings and press calls. What do we need to consider to make sure our needs are met? That's a great question, Noah. First, you need to make sure you find the right hardware, not only conference room phones, but you need to have powerful enough servers to meet your heavy conferencing needs. Oftentimes, UC vendors have different server options available, so remember to keep that in mind when shopping around. Also, you need to have the correct number of trunks or lines into your building to facilitate anyone outside the company calling in. Thank you for the question, Noah. And now back to Brian and Jason, and I'm going to ask you guys, what exactly is etiquette?
All right, thanks, Julie. So etiquette in the workplace, what is it? Jason, why don't you explain the origins?
Sure, Brian. Well, as we know, the French word etiquette is a code of behavior that delineates expectations for social behavior according to contemporary conventional norms within a society, social class, or group.
So while the word's origins refer to the social behaviors of groups, many of us think of etiquette as manners or common courtesies that apply to everybody.
True, you may think of golf etiquette,
Or etiquette when you have to sneeze.
chess etiquette,
Or the bro code.
wedding etiquette.
Or how about an RSVP? That requires a little etiquette.
That's true. The captain goes down with the ship.
Good one. How about phubbing?
Ah, yes, phubbing, snubbing someone over a mobile phone. Poor etiquette.
Very much. And of course, office etiquette. Do you remember Miss Purcell?
I do remember Miss Purcell. I remember her like it was only yesterday.
We were lucky enough to have Miss Purcell as our typing teacher, but she taught us so much more.
She did. She was teaching us how to get along in the business world, and typing was only part of it.
All right, class, stop typing, please. Before we go on with the next exercise, I'd like to make one of my little speeches. This is your first course in preparing for an office job. You're starting a new career. It can be fun, or it can be hard. It all depends on the way you look at things, your attitude. For instance, you'll be working in an office. Well, don't forget the golden rule works there just as it does anywhere else. Treat others as you want to be treated. Here's how it applies to an office. First, of course, know your job. Enjoy it, but also enjoy the people that you're working with. Be considerate of them, and be considerate of your employer. Remember those simple rules of office etiquette, and you'll get along in the business world.
Well, I suppose we can close the show with those sweet, sweet memories. So, etiquette behavior, what is your favorite? Let us know at #UCTechChat. So that does it for this week. Thank you for joining us, and join us next time for UC Tech Chat.